Well, welcome to the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel with Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist. I don't practice as a theologist anymore, but we can have a look at this. This is, man, this video really has impacted me. This woman's been obviously absolutely smashed by a narcissist, but the information she's about to share is pretty raw. It goes for half an hour, this video. It really is insightful, man. Let's get into it.
If you're watching this video, then you probably already know that narcissists can tend to be pretty big liars. They tend to lie more than they tell the truth. But some of the lies that narcissists tell are through the things that they don't say. In today's video, I'm going to go over several common things that we assume about narcissists that turn out not to be true. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. The topic of this video was inspired by a comment from one of my listeners talking about the lies of omission that narcissists tell. And I'm not sure exactly what that commenter had in mind when they said that, but the comment did remind me of what I experienced when I started to realize things that I had assumed all along, or started to realize that
this lady has absolutely been smashed to pieces. This is going to be awesome.
Things that I had assumed all along were not true. And these things were really a huge shock. These are things that I think most of us can assume in relationships with normal people or people that think somewhat similar to the way that we do.
Guys, I'm telling you, you're about to, I watched this video about half an hour ago, and she looks like one of my ex-girlfriends, and I've sent the video to her, and it's going to change her life. This video is absolutely, the way she describes this, it's awesome.
These are things that you don't think that you need to ask for clarity for. Like when you go to a restaurant, you assume that when you order your food, they're not going to serve you poison.
This woman has been absolutely smashed. And what she's about to describe to you is her life experience, right?
You don't even think that you need to ask because you just assume that they're going to give you edible food that isn't actually poison. And
I would dare say she's still recovering. I dare say she might never recover from what this person's done to her. It's not funny, but you can just see she's just been so hammered.
That's kind of how I felt after a narcissistic relationship, is these questions or these things I had assumed, things that were the actual reality that were so far from my idea of what was possible that I would have never even thought to ask about them. And
This is amazing. This woman was completely unaware of what was going on in this person's mind. You have to ask, where was the naivety and the ignorance coming from? Are the narcissists that good at hiding things? This can boil down to a lack of experience with people and life. I've had relationships where I've had to fish so deeply to work out where they're really at and wait until they hung themselves to clarify what the person was really doing. And they will hang themselves, don't worry about that. But this poor woman, she's so ignorant. And what you're about to hear is such a smashing and such a smashing to this person's person. It's just incredible.
in my opinion, some narcissists knowingly know that they're perpetrating a fraud, and some of them have actually convinced themselves of these frauds, so they're not consciously aware that they're perpetrating a fraud. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because the fraud is just as damaging whether or not the narcissist can admit it to themselves. But I think that narcissists get caught up in these stories that they're trying to make into a reality. These stories, these narratives that they're playing along with, playing pretend. And we can get caught up in that too, because we don't realize that we're dealing with someone that is living in a fantasy world. We assume that their experience is as real as our experience.
Can you see how far removed and how little this person knew about this other person? And she's decided to describe him as a narcissist, but I got a funny feeling there's an element of ignorance going on here on this woman's part relative to experience in relationships. Now, I'm not saying this to criticize her, but the way in which this works out. My last girlfriend, she had no clue of where I was at. The reason being, she never really asked. At the end, I was just going along with anything that suited her, but she had no clue about where my head was at. And when the whole thing come in on itself, I just agreed with the final arrangements and then rang her up and said, yeah, I'll see you later. Because she had no clue of what the unresolved was doing to me in terms of having a relationship with her. She had no clue. She was too wrapped up in her family members, basically.
So let me get more specific in case I have already lost you on what exactly it is I'm talking about. The first huge lie of omission is that the narcissist loves you, or at least cares about you. I think this is most shocking in a romantic relationship, or possibly a familial relationship, because you assume that the love that you feel is being returned. You assume that the person that you're with feels at least somewhat similar to the way that you do. And because the narcissist mirrors you and somewhat mimics the way that you act towards them to create this illusion that the feelings that you have for each other are mutual, you never think to question this, especially with the intense emotion that a narcissistic relationship can cultivate. This can be a really powerful illusion. You're in this relationship that I would use the word limerence, that you feel this extreme drug-like euphoric romantic love feeling, and the person that you're with is reciprocating the types of affection that you are showing them or giving them, and you assume that they have the same kind of romantic love for you that you do for them. Of course, none of this is healthy at all, but I think if you've ever been lost in this sort of relationship, you probably know that you certainly aren't aware of that at the time. So
what she's showing here is a complete blindsidedness of herself relative to what the other person was experiencing with her. And this has sabotaged her perception of who the person was. These types, they're in it for the supply. She'll come into this a bit later. They say that they love you and everything, but their actions just don't back it up. They go off and they live a life that has absolutely nothing to do with you. It will have nothing to do with you. They set up boundaries between you and them, and the boundaries that they're supposed to set up should be on the other end where the trouble's coming from, but they leave those boundaries undone. They set up the boundaries between you and their nest or their hive, and you just watch them, how ignorant they are and how badly they're navigating the relationship. You keep indicating to them, please, you've got to sort this issue out. They've got no concept that you're disintegrating, because most men can't function when somebody's not honouring their needs, But that doesn't make any difference to me. I've been in the woman arena all my life. So I'm watching these women totally unaware of what they're doing within the relationship. You're telling them what the problem is. They're in opposite directional dysfunction disorder. In other words, they're doing everything the opposite of what you need them to do. They're just showing up. And you're watching them and they're absolutely clueless of where you're at. Are they narcissists? I don't think so. They're usually caring and everything. They're just ignorant beyond themselves and their life. They don't know how to read a male. These women had no idea, particularly the last one, of where I was at. She had no idea where I was at, but she couldn't at the end of it say I didn't see that coming because she was warned that the problem needed to be fixed, and she just would not do it.
So this intense drug-like euphoria of this very unhealthy, immature, but very powerful kind of romantic love leads you to assume if this person is staying with you and they're kind of giving you back some of the affection that you're giving them, at least when they're in a good mood, you assume that they must have somewhat similar feelings towards you that you do towards them. And you certainly would never guess in a million years that they're just mirroring you, that they're just kind of playing along, that they're trying to play into this narrative, this story that they've invented. I know.
No, what they're doing is they're psychologically vampiring you. They're using you as an instrument to feed their psychological needs. This person obviously didn't have the value for her as what she had for him. This person she really did love this person. But he did not have the value for her that she had for him.
For me, when it was all said and done, I mean, the person that I'm talking about, this went on for years. And when it was all said and done, it was a huge shock. It was kind of like the biggest plot twist at the end of a movie ever, to look back and realize, oh, I was in this on my own the whole time.
This isn't probably true. Obviously, there's been some areas in the relationship where possibly she's been asked to, whether it be fair or not. You know what? Some of these guys, whether you want to call them narcissists or not, they are connected with these women, and then the women just cannot supply them in a way in which satisfies them. Now that tells you that they're not in the relationship to bring health or benefit or unity for the woman. Now, if she hasn't got the sense to see this, this is what happens to them. Now, these people, these men are obviously destructive. Something's gone wrong here. I don't know to what extent. And she's come out. She's still damaged. She's still mending. I don't care what she says. You can tell. But watch this. She's completely ignorant of what's going on. I don't know whether she had to resolve something that she couldn't or what was going on. But this story, man, it's really heavy. I mean, this woman's been psychologically damaged.
This person didn't have feelings anywhere near what I had for him. I imagined all of this, and he just kind of played along and let me believe that this was a mutual relationship. That
this woman's spot on. Now, this is what a lot of women do to men. I think this is probably more so for these. This is a really good woman. She just wanted to get in there and love and get on with it and be no trouble, and she participated in the parts that she needed to, and everybody was just to get along. But this man, unfortunately, is destructive. But it goes for a lot of women now. They're just destructive. They're not coming in for a proper relationship. They're only coming in for supply. They're physically in, but mentally out. This man was physically in, but mentally out.
He felt at least somewhat about me the way I felt about him. It stung. That was really painful. And I mean, I can't even are there even words for the feeling of realizing that you were so wrong the whole time, that you had assumed something that I think in my case, I think he knew, but you know, he's not going to correct me. He's not going to explain to me that he really just thinks I'm okay to be around. He doesn't really have any special kind of feelings for me other than how special it makes him feel to be with somebody that's so head over heels for him. So
now, this is something that happens a lot in relationships, but what you can find on the opposite spectrum, if you're a switched on guy and you're dealing with a woman that's behaving like this man with her, you can explain to these people what the problems are and they'll completely ignore them. That's the signal for you to detach. And then you watch these people sailing along. They'll make out they love you, but they don't. You know how you know they don't? Because when you break off with them, you never hear from them again. They're bloody pathetic. And that's what gives them away. They always give themselves away. They're only using you for supply. They're physically coming in, but they're mentally out. They'll get along with you, they'll go along with you, they'll mirror you, but they're not emotionally connected. They're too tied up with their relationships at home, usually with their children, where they've built an environment where everybody's so codependent and interdependent, you can't fit in there anyway because there's no room. They're just bound up. I'm going to leave this at part 1. We're going to do this in 3 parts. Join me for the next part. I'll go straight on with this now, but we'll go out from this for now. If you haven't already, guys, please subscribe, like and share. I think this is worth sharing, man. It's good material. Remember, you're with Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, on the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel. Join me for part 2. We'll put it straight up. Just let me process this one. Bye for now.